In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Doctopus script. Using Doctopus will allow you to quickly and easily share Google Drive files with your students in just a few clicks. The first thing that you're going to need to do is to organize a folder in your drive. So you can see that I've created a folder in my drive called About Me Assignment. This is the assignment that I'm going to be sharing with my students. And within this folder, I have some documents that I've already created. The first thing is the template that I'm going to share with my students. This is what I want my students to have access to. I want them to use the template and customize it to add their information. I have a spreadsheet where I've got my roster stored, and this is where I'm going to add my Doctopus script. And then I have a folder to hold the student assignments, and this will you'll see how this works here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to my spreadsheet, and in the spreadsheet I already have the roster of my class in, and I've got their username, which is their email address, their first name, and their last name. And at a minimum, that's the information you need for the Doctopus script to run. So now we're going to install the Doctopus script. So I'm going to go to the Tools menu, and I'm going to go to Script Gallery, and I'm going to do a search for Doctopus. And when it comes up in the list, we will select it, and we want version 4.3.1. Go ahead and click Install. As part of the installation process, it will want you to authorize the app to run, so we'll click Continue here. And it wants access to these things in your drive, and it's fine. Go ahead and click Accept at the bottom. And it will go ahead and install the script so we can see that it's installed. Click Close here. Now you will notice in your spreadsheet a new menu called Doctopus, and this is the menu will take you through the steps that you need to go through in order to set up the script. So we'll go ahead and go to Launch Installation. And the first step, we're going to determine what type of sharing we want for this Doctopus. So you have some different options here. If you want to do group projects, you could share one document with different groups. Individual means everybody gets the same document. Individual differentiated means you can have 2 or 3 or 4 documents that you want to share individually with students. Or whole class means that everybody in the class gets access to the same document. In this case, we want each student to have their own document, so we're going to select individual. Again, it creates the same separate individual doc for each student in your class. Whole class access level, this means that if you can give your students access to be able to view everybody else's document. In this case, we don't want to do that, so we're going to leave that at no access. Individual student access level, we want them to be able to edit the document. We want to make sure that this is checked. Editors cannot change sharing permissions. We can also add additional teachers' names in here if we want them to be able to have edit rights to this document. The next area is for your roster settings. The sheet that contains the roster is Sheet 1, and that's right here. The column containing the student email addresses is username, so they've got that correct. And then we're just going to leave this column for right now. We're not going to do anything with the excuse designation. Now, if you have previously set up shared folders using the G-class folder script, you can actually have this document go right into those individual student folders by checking this box. I did not do that in this case, so we're going to go ahead and save these settings. The next thing we need to do is choose which document we want to copy and distribute. Now remember, we set up a folder that has all of this information already in it. It's this About Me template, this presentation that we want to distribute. So we need to locate that. The folder that contains that is called the About Me Assignment folder. So we'll select that. Once it accesses that folder, it will see the files that are in that folder, and we want to share with them the presentation, the template. Go ahead and save those settings. We'll now choose the destination folder, so where these shared documents will be saved, and we'll set up a file naming system for our students. We can go ahead and choose a destination folder right here for the copied files. And remember, in our folder that we created for this project, we already have an About Me Student Assignments folder, so we'll locate that in our list, and there it is. Alternatively, we could create a folder for this, for housing these assignments right here. But we already have our folder created, so we'll select that. The next thing we need to do is name the files, how we want these student files to be named. And I always want my student files to be named with last name, so we'll go ahead and copy that, paste it in there, a space, then I want their first name, copy that, space, and then the assignment title will be about me. And this makes it so that every single file is correctly named. You can choose to notify document editors, in this case your students, that you are sharing a file with them, and it gives you the ability to send them an email and then to customize that email. I am not going to use that for this particular example, but if you have students who don't check their shared with me area of their drive, you might want to send them an email. We'll go ahead and save these settings. And the last step, before you run the copy and share of the documents, it gives you a minute to check your settings and make sure everything is correct here. If it is not correct, you can exit out and go back through the steps to make changes. This is the way that I want this, so we're going to go ahead and run copy and share. It will take just a few minutes for Doctopus to work, and depending on how many students you have in your roster, it may take a little bit longer, but you should begin to see Doctopus work in the background on your spreadsheet, adding some different columns. When the script is done running, you'll get a message saying that documents were successfully shared. Click OK. And you'll see our spreadsheet has been altered by this script. You now have a link to each of the documents that was shared with the students, and you have some information where you can also grade the assignment and some places for written feedback. Now if we switch over to a student's account, we can see here in Shared with Me, here is Sue's Shared with Me About Me project. And she has full editing rights, so she can go ahead and make changes to it. Now there's a couple of awesome extras within the Doctopus script, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. If we pull down Doctopus, we'll see the 4 steps that we just went through, but we can also refresh the time of the last edit. So this will then refresh and so that we can see when the student last edited that particular document. If we go back to Doctopus again, we can also use a tool called Gubrick, which will attach a rubric to this assignment. So if we want to share feedback with our student, that's a good way to do that. Embargo for grading. What this means is when the assignment is finished, so you have a due date for your assignment, and you don't want your students to be able to edit anymore, you can choose embargo for grading. It will run the script and it will take away the editing privileges from the students. Go ahead and click OK, and you'll see it run through the script and remove the editing privileges. It now says it's locked for grading. So if we go back to Sue's student and we refresh this page, we will see that Sue still has access to this document, but she can now no longer make changes. So that's a really neat feature of Doctopus. Click OK. Now let's say we've gone through the assignments, we've made some suggestions, we want the students to go back and edit them again. If we go back to Doctopus, we can see that we can unembargo for revision, and we can restore those editing privileges. So the script will go through and we'll see that the editing privileges will be restored to the student. So another great feature of Doctopus. And it tells you that they've all been restored. Click OK. Another thing, we can also send personalized emails to the students right from this script. So if we had some additional instructions that we wanted to give them for this particular project, we can do that in an email very quickly. Now if we take a look back at our folder structure that we had set up, if we look in the About Me student assignments, we will see these are all of the documents that were shared by the Doctopus script. So this again is the teacher account. So I have access to all of the student files right here. I can also access those files using the link here in the spreadsheet. One other option that Doctopus has is once you're done with the assignment, you've made any grades that changes that you want the students for the students, you maybe want to give them ownership of the document. So if they want to save this for a portfolio or use it in another class, you can actually use Doctopus to transfer ownership of the document to the students. Right now with Doctopus, you own all of these documents, but you may want to give ownership back to the students so that they can have those documents to be able to use for portfolios and those kinds of things. So Doctopus is a very powerful script, takes just a few seconds to set up, but it will really make the sharing process easier.